Now we'll begin with the questioning. You know, at hearings like this, experts throw out a lot of numbers, and I look at the world a little bit differently than some of our conservative economists in terms of what's happening to working families. But at the end of the day, you got millions and millions of people who have worked their whole lives, are entering retirement, and they're scared to death. And I think, Ms. Chambers, your testimony was extremely moving, because I think you're not just speaking about your own life, or not even about the UAW and union members. You're talking about millions and millions of people. Talk a little bit, not only for your own experience, from your friends, your family, what it's like to have worked, in your case, 17 years for one of the major corporations in America, and as I understand it right now, you have no retirement program, no pension program. On an emotional basis, on a personal basis, what is that like?
So, yeah, we have a 401k, and we got a raise in our 401k, and it's great. It's a good stepping stone. It's a good foot forward. But when I retire, my 401k is based off, and the rest of America now that's in my generation, is based off of what the stock market's doing. I've seen several times in my lifetime where the stock markets went down, and we've lost a lot of money in our 401k. I'm not at retirement age, but when I look at my 401k and the amount of money that was bleeding out of it with the COVID, it makes me very uneasy. It kind of feels like, especially working at Ford, I had a goal post when I first hired in, and then it was, well, you're a temporary employee full-time until further notice. So then now I'm...
Explain to members what being a quote-unquote temporary, you were a temporary employee for 6 years, right?
Yep.
It's a long temp. What does that mean?
So I was considered full-time, so I worked 40, 50, 60 hours a week, but I was locked in at $14 an hour until 2013. And I was expected to do everything a full-time employee did, but I didn't get any of the benefits. And that actually, when I hired in, I questioned what parts of the contract I fell under, and they said, it depends on what we're talking about. So there was never any full, like, here's their book, this is your rules and regulations. It's like, no, we're not going to cover you under that.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. Ms. Ghilarducci, we are, in one sense, the wealthiest country in the history of the world, right? Yeah. A lot of billionaires out there doing very, very well. How does, in your judgment, the American retirement plan, the status of older Americans compared to people around other wealthy nations?
Yeah.
Microphone.
My data really looks at that question. So I compare what people were like when they were approaching retirement 30 years ago, and then take the same snapshot of the generation that looks like them right now. And as I said in my written testimony today, 50% will not be able to meet their retirement standards, and most of them won't be able to meet poverty standard. Compare that to other countries with all different kinds of systems, the Scandinavians, the Germans, the French, even the Italians. Just look at our peers, and we fall way behind. I was looking at the elderly poverty rates. Kazakhstan does better than us. So there's a couple of design issues.
I heard from some of the economists here today that we're doing just great. Things are getting better. Is that
true? So that was my little lesson on averages versus medians. Because the rich have done so well, they have brought up those averages that people who talk about average retirement wealth can point to. It's gone up. But that's because the top 10% got the benefit of retirement tax cuts. They got the benefit of the run-up in the market. They didn't take money out, to buy their houses.
Okay, last question. Thank you very much. Sorry. Mr. Doonan, right now, billionaire pays Social Security taxes on $168,000. That's about it. Massive amounts of untaxed money there, despite massive income and wealth inequality. That makes sense to you?
Thank you for the question.
Microphone.
Thank you for the question. I would note that one of the reasons Social Security's financing fell off track is we used to capture 90% of total income, and that was sort of expected to continue. But with rising inequality, I think we're down to about 82 or 81. So, when these projections were done in the early 80s, I feel like they did a pretty nice job. We had 40 years of level costs. But there are some areas where the projections just didn't come true.
Senator Cassidy?